Welcome to GTM Confessions, where we share what it takes to be a go-to-market professional today. Because it's freaking hard and it's far from the glamorous picture that social media often paints. Consider this show your weekly go-to-market therapy session. I'm your host, Stephanie Cox. I have more than 20 years of experience and I've done almost everything go-to-market related in my career. In this episode, I chat with Ryan O'Hara, CEO at Pitchfire, about the lack of creativity in B2B marketing, why people need to stand out more on social media, the major challenges in prospecting, and so much more. Welcome to the show, Ryan.
Wow, you got me. I don't know how you did it. You're like, hey, come over here. It's cool. I got a free bike for you. And now here I am.
And you said yes, and we're going to talk so many different things.
Oh man, I'm excited that you do this. This is a cool idea for a podcast.
Thank you. Well, one of the things that I really want to talk to you about is you've been like one of the OGs in terms of creating unique content on social media, specifically LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a rarity. I think more people are starting to catch on to that in the last year or so, but you've been doing it for as long as I've known you. So it may probably way before that. But there seems to be, just in general, companies tend to struggle with the idea of being unique, different, outspoken, and really creative in any of their messaging, let alone social. So why do you think we have this huge disconnect between what companies feel comfortable doing, what us as people actually want to do, especially marketers, and want to see?
Yeah.
And how do we fix it?
Ooh, wow, what a good question right off right out of the bat, or out of the gate, I guess. Out of the bat, that doesn't make sense. All right. So here's a thing I'm going to talk about, and it all starts with a children's book. Do you remember when you've had kids, obviously, and raised children and stuff? Have you read any books that help them learn how to poop? Like potty training?
I did not. I adopted all four of my kids, and they thankfully all four came potty trained.
Dude, that's amazing. I have to talk to you about that offline after. But so there's a book. Congratulations, by the way. There's a book that I remember I used to see at the grocery store that I used to giggle at as a child, and it was called Everybody Poops. And the whole idea behind it is that everybody poops. And if you go through the book, it talks about your mom poops, your dad poops, your teachers poop, everybody poops. It's normal. Don't get anxiety when you go to the bathroom. And I think I'm not a big bathroom humor type guy, but I like talking about this because I think it's symbolic of what happens with companies. People get embarrassed by people putting themselves out there. And some of the stuff you see, you can be embarrassed about because it's cringe or unoriginal. Like yesterday, for example, was April Fool's Day. We're recording this on April 2nd. And my LinkedIn feed was full of a bunch of people doing April Fool's Day stuff. Problem for me is April Fool's Day stuff kind of like, I feel like that was cool 15 years ago. And now like everybody's doing it. And here's the thing though, I didn't write anything cynical about it. I just privately was saying that to people because I actually appreciate that businesses are willing to flex their funny bone for one day. I think that's a good thing. But the problem is for me, every day is April Fool's Day. I don't mean like lying and tricking people. I mean more like every day should be like, if your brand wants to be someone that earns trust, humor is a good way to earn trust with people. I remember I did an A/B test years ago. I was a CMO of a healthcare startup called ChartSpan, and we did an A/B test for our sign-up page. Where one page we had humor, one page we didn't, and I split tested all the traffic that we got to the site. And one page had all this stuff about compliance and healthcare records and keeping your records secure, and the other one made fun of how people use Manila folders to hold their health records and why you should use our app instead. And the one that had the humor in it converted 700% higher than the one that didn't. 700% higher. The other one got like nothing. Like no one cared about that stuff. And the lesson here is you trust a company more if they use humor because you're like, oh, they're not going to go bring up the pink elephant in the room. I'll figure out the pink elephant later on. It's all about making a good first impression with someone. I don't know if that answer's a little all over the place, but like everybody poops. Executives go home and they buy Ben & Jerry's ice cream, which has silly ice cream flavors. And they watch SNL on Saturday nights. And they watch funny clips on YouTube and text each other. We've probably shared funny links with each other before. We both were executives at companies. Like, everybody that you're trying to get in front of has a sense of humor, and at the end of the day, if you want to build brand affinity and have people love you, you need to put that personality front and center.
And I think what we've done instead as a industry, not Ryan and I personally,
Yeah,
we're
just us,
probably
just us.
just, but I think the industry has gotten to this place where everyone wants to talk about these really buzzword driven language that means like absolutely nothing. It's kind of like, and I don't know if you've had this situation, but I've been in board meetings where it's like, well, did you see the competitors are using this phrase? Why aren't we using this phrase? It should be on the homepage of the website. Why did you post that Giphy on LinkedIn? I'm like, because it's funny and because
Yeah,
people related to it. So why do you think we've gotten in this situation where we are like overcomplicating messaging and what we're doing across everything as marketers to become more buzzword driven, more vague, or we also slap AI on everything right now. But like,
yeah.
why is that all happening?
I think it's mainly because the people that are in power that run businesses and companies today, and the venture community of people that give money to businesses, and the stockholders and board people, all the old slick Rick people that are 50 or 60 years in business right now that move and make money go around, are people that grew up in a world where business and personal lives were separate. And we started seeing this in 2013. Actually, you can go back to BlackBerry if you want to. You started to see this in
I miss Blackberries.
I I never had one. My wife did though, and she was a big fan of it. I was one of those stubborn people. It's like I'm not getting a smartphone. I'm gonna keep using this flip phone for a while, and then I was like, oh, maybe I really should. Um, but if you go back in time, we started to see this line between your personal and professional life turn into one thing, and we're seeing that now with LinkedIn. Every person's posting on LinkedIn today. You post on LinkedIn 5 years ago, or maybe 6 or 7 years ago, it was like you were yelling at a library. Today, if you post on LinkedIn, you're yelling at a football stadium on Sunday in the middle of the game and no one's hearing you because everyone's yelling. So, like, we saw this thing happen over the past decade where your work started saying, oh, you got a smartphone? Can you put your work email on your phone? We're not going to pay for it, but we want your work email on here. Hey, we just bought this thing called Slack. Do you mind putting Slack on your phone so we can access and get in touch with you? Yeah, it's great. You should just use it. Don't even think about it. Hey, we have this new travel app to take pictures of your receipts when you're traveling for the company. Can you put that on your personal phone even though we don't provide you with a cell phone? And then you know what happened? The last thing to break was COVID. During COVID, we saw this mesh between personal life and professional completely merge when everyone's office became their home. I'm in my house. This is my house. I have a little fake wall backdrop here that I work from for videos and podcasting. On this side, I have a green screen. I'm in a bedroom of my house doing this. Um, we saw this mesh. You get this glimpse in this small little rectangle box of what our personal lives are like. And that mesh, we've slowly let go of. Those business people that were around 50 or 60 years ago would go home and have a completely different life than they would at work. And they might talk to some close friends at work, workplace proximity friends, about their life and stuff that was going on in their personal life. But they literally were Severance, like that TV show Severance. Like here, today, they're all one thing. And we've accepted it as a society. And because of that, it means that the way that you go to market and get in front of people and the attitudes that this whole generation of a new workforce has about these two things being the same thing, we need to be doing in marketing and sales, which means you need to appeal like you're doing B2C marketing. The old guard is not in the day to day of this stuff. I mean, there are venture capitalists at companies that haven't worked at a company in 20 years. And you think they're going to know how to do marketing and sales? And I was actually telling you this story before. Like, I had, we've had new people come in when I was at previous companies that like were embarrassed by some of the things that I'd put online because it was silly and fun, and they wouldn't care that I had 100,000 views on a video that I put on LinkedIn. Like they cared that one of their friends said, "Hey, this video was kind of funny," and they looked at that and said, "That makes me look bad." That because I'm working for a brand or a company that is doing stuff that's funny, and I want to be taken seriously by all my friends. So I'm gonna yell at this person and say, "You can't do that anymore." This is like how this guard happens and stuff.
Well, and I've experienced that too, where it's like, oh, you posted something or someone that works for you posted something. And what if an enterprise company saw that? And I'm like, what if they did? They're people just like me. Like the people that are buying from you are people. They're not, I know in B2B we sell to accounts, but we sell to people who work at those accounts. A company doesn't buy anything. A person in a company buys something. And they have the same oftentimes interests and needs that literally any other person does.
It circles back to the main point. Everybody poops. Everybody laughs. Everybody gets in fights with their spouse. Everybody feels lonely sometimes. Everybody feels like laughing. Sometimes you feel angry. We all are real human beings working at places, and your brand needs to have its own identity that feels like that. And if you do that, you can build affinity and you can build people that think about. If I went and told you like, hey, what kind of ads does Nike run? Right? Let's say we were talking about Nike, for example. You have a good idea of what kind of ad you're going to see if you're watching a Nike ad, because Nike has personality and heart and is all about making their athletes look like champions. And if you use their stuff, you'll feel like a champion. If not, like you have a vibe and a feeling that you have toward it. That's kind of what I'm getting at. Like you want to have a personality for your brand and your company that's not, hey, I look like my 8 other competitors that are out there.
Or I use words that are like $5 words that no one would use in an actual sentence unless they were forced to repeat it. Sometimes when I talked, like when someone will cold call me and they'll be using like clearly a script that's a bunch of buzzwords, I kind of want to be like, blink twice if you're being held hostage. Like, what is going on? Because you would not talk like this as a person. Like, just explain to me what you do as if you met me at the grocery store and I was like, oh, hey, what do you do? Talk to me like that, like a human, create content like a human. And it's been interesting because I do think there is this generational shift that is happening where there are people, in leadership roles, like in a similar age range that you and I are and younger, that are starting to kind of come up against the old guard and say, we need to behave differently, we need to market differently. And there's a lot of pushback happening because of it. And my favorite is, they care about like what does like the hero of the website say? Like what's the hero
Yeah,
image? I'm like, no one talks like that. Like stop talking about the hero image or that it should have a carousel. I want someone to go to our website. I want them to be able to know what we do and see our pricing and know if it's for them in like less than 5 seconds. Because guess what? If they can't, they're going somewhere else.
it's funny. I was thinking of I saw a piece of content, great content by the way. This guy Sahil Patel does this show called CRO Crimes, and they do like a game show. So it's formatted like a game show. They get two people that have both been work in marketing, and they go through a bunch of landing pages and say like they do different tests and quizzes and say rewrite this headline, which one's a real company, which one's a fake company, things like that. It's kind of fun. One of the things I love is like they'll they'll like do this segment where they show like 5 landing pages and they all have almost the same exact like headline. Grow your business. Oh, okay. There's 300 companies that are promising they're going to grow your business. You must be one that's going to actually do it. I believe you. And that's part of the issue here. It's like it's people are afraid. I almost want to like. Part of me wishes I could just like let it rip and completely just make a parody of good marketing, but do it bad, like do bad, make it really bad, like don't buy our software button, like leave this page, close this window, and just yeah, just something like that, and just see how I bet it would perform better than half these marketing pages that people make.
I would. Well, because it'd be different. I think we've gotten to this like sea of sameness where everything looks the same. And so now I think as buyers, we trust none of it because everyone says the same thing. Everyone promises the same thing. We've all been burned, especially by software in the past. And then the other piece is we've gotten in this habit too, where companies are so much about like wanting to control the story instead of just being really open and honest about it. They'll use customer success stories or like stats that have been like quasi manipulated. I'm sure the data is accurate, but you can slice data a lot of different ways to get to the number that you want. Where I'm like, you did not generate that much revenue for every single company that has worked for you. Like, there's no way that's real. If so, everyone would buy your software.
Did you see the thing that happened last week with that company 11X with the
I did
logo
not.
thing? All right, so for people listening, there was a story that there's this company called 11X, and TechCrunch wrote an article that found out that all the logos they were putting on their website weren't really customers. And so they put a bunch of logos on their website of companies that had like either filled out forms or done something. And it's funny, all these people out there are like, shame on them, customer success stories, blah, 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 blah. And you know what's funny? I saw that and I was like, I'm pretty sure I've probably done that. Like accidentally, like just not realizing, like, oh, thought that person was a customer. We could put them as a logo.
Or it
But
was, or my favorite is it was in a ClickWrapper MSA that we can use your logo and your information for whatever purpose. So therefore, I don't have to ask you permission. Because
yeah,
that's one thing I think that happens a ton is, especially when you have like some sort of like free account, you'll see these companies put like logos of every single free account. And I'm like, you do not have Amazon as a customer. You had a person who works at Amazon.
unless, by the way, the only exception is if you're a B2B marketplace that connects buyers and sellers, because we do have
That's
Amazon
different.
users on. That's different. It's B2C.
Different.
It's B2C. We're allowed to do it. But they put their logo when they make their account. It's not me.
Yeah.
I just wanted to notify that. So like, but it's funny. It's funny. You could take any number that you pull from someone and spin it to be really good. And like, that's why it's kind of like, well, actually, you know what I was thinking about? Um, you ever follow like Rand Fisk and stuff? You ever see any of his content?
I yes, I love his transparency and I love how he just kind of deep dives into things and gives zero Fs.
He did a video. I think he was doing it with, might have been with Casey Hill from Active Campaign or something. Well, he just left and started a new company. But there's a video I saw where he was talking about marketing in 2015 versus marketing today. Did you see that one? And what he talks about is like, he's like, in 2015, you would put stuff on social to get someone to your website. You would you'd make assets that would get you to collect email addresses. Um, your sales team would go reach out to people that visited your website and you try and convert them into meetings. He just talked about like this whole lay of the land. And he's like, in 2015 or 2025, you're just trying to create as many excuses as possible to get in front of that person where they are already. Like a good example would be like if I'm putting content on LinkedIn, LinkedIn's gonna punish me if I send anyone off LinkedIn. Like they make money from job postings, from people buying premium, from advertising. Those are their big buckets. LinkedIn's not making money if I'm not applying for jobs on LinkedIn, or using one of their premium offerings or seeing ads. So like, why would LinkedIn want to put a feed of my stuff sending to a website? Yet you know what I see on my feed all the time? Businesses posting links to ebooks that you can go get on their website still. Like, throw that up in a carousel online. Pretend LinkedIn's one of your websites. Just act like it's your website.
Well, and I think what's interesting is that's why it's harder to do marketing today because you have to be on, honestly, almost every channel where your audience is, and they're not on the same channels
Yeah.
as you would like. But there's so many companies that are still operating in the 2015 way of doing business and trying to market and sell to people. And I think it goes back to like, we're stuck in some of that messaging problems. We're stuck in that lack of creativity. And then you have companies that are trying to be really creative with what they do. And sometimes they get their hands slapped by doing that.
I'll give you a really good example. I don't know if this happened in your previous life, but like when you get to a certain size of your company, your board and people start asking for attribution on marketing. How did this person hear? How do they hear from you? And you know what's funny? In La La Land Magic Attribution World, they think that customers click on links with UTMs on everything. You know what the truth
And only
is?
saw that one thing. They
Yeah.
have seen nothing else except that one thing with the UTM they clicked on.
Even if it's first touch, last touch, multi-touch, whatever you're doing, weights, all that stuff, all these people do that. You want to know the easiest way to find out how someone heard about you? Ask.
Ask.
Don't buy $70,000 software. I don't care if I piss off the hockey stack people, by the way, but I think their product actually might be kind of cool if you're bigger and you're trying to figure this stuff out. But like, there's so much attribution software that's out there. We bought some when I was at LeadIQ because we had some consultant that our VCs recommended that we hire, and they had a lot of cool ideas actually. kudos to the consultant for some of the ideas that they had. But naturally, they read a blog post about attribution. They're like, why aren't you guys using attribution? And we were using HubSpot, and HubSpot tracks original source, which is one of the things that they give you. But guess what? The original source is basically like 10 categories, and that's it. And it's only doing first touch, it's not doing last touch or multi touch. And you know what we ended up doing? We ended up just sending a survey out to people when I said, hey, fill out this survey. We're going to pick 2 people and give them $500 gift cards. And we had like 1,800 people take it. And guess how most of the people heard about us? Brand, word of mouth, someone talking about us, someone talking about us offline. You can't track that. No attribution software is ever going to track that. And we were getting all of our customers from that. Like maybe we'd get some that would like stumble on a blog post or like something like that. But like we were, you know what that comes in as in HubSpot? It either says direct if they typed in our brand, organic if they searched our brand, or the third one would be unknown source. Like that's how it ends up happening with people. And then you go when sales and marketing are presenting numbers to these boards and these fancy like suit people, they like expect you to have an attribution chart that's like, this is where we got all our revenue from. And it's like, yeah, because you know why? The venture capitalist people that you're presenting this to invested in all these attribution companies, so they want you to buy them.
Mhm. Well, and what's interesting is the kind of buckets that you said, right? So direct or SEO or unknown. I've heard people say, oh, well, if it's direct, they were already going to come to us anyways. And I'm like, no, they weren't. They didn't know about, like, they didn't just wake up and go, you know what? I had this idea for a company that did this one thing. I'm going to go Google it and their name and see if it's real. They've heard about you from somewhere. And then I think the other problem with SEO sometimes is, yes, there is a lot of SEO that is, well, we could get into a whole debate on the state of SEO with AI
Yeah.
right now. But there's a lot of SEO that is helpful, but when they're searching SEO for your name, or they click on an SEO page that's related to what you do because they don't remember your name exactly, that's still partly brand.
Yeah. It's like, it's like they expect you to make, they expect you to have everything perfectly tracked, and I understand why it causes frustration because I've been on the sales side before. Like people get mad sometimes. Like when I was in sales, I'd sometimes be like, these leads suck. Like where are they coming from? Like I don't get it. But like the way that you get better alignment with sales and marketing is to loop people in. Like don't work with the whole sales team. Work with one rep at a time on a project. That was like the easiest way when I was at Dine to like have a rep love us. I'd be like, hey John Czar, who was one of our account executives when I was at Dine, I'm going to be making a bunch of music videos for prospects. Do you want to be the star of all of them? And Czar's like, yeah, let's do it. And then like Czar would be in all these videos, and then we would do that project, and it was successful. And then when I'm doing another project, I'd be like, hey Brian, do you want to be in this thing we're doing? Hey Ashley, do you want to do this thing with us? And like you go and make these impressions so that when they're at the end of the year, when they're filling out an internal survey about like, does marketing support sales? They're like, everyone there has done something with marketing at one point that year, and they're like, yeah, I get it. These guys are putting a lot of work in. Like another thing you could easily do if you're watching this and you're like, oh, I'm in marketing, go put your reps as host of the webinars that you're doing. That's an easy thing you could do that will make sales feel included, and then be like, hey, I'm going to be the person following up with you on these leads. Or go just make them a panelist, have them hang out, moderate the chat, be like, hey guys, I'm going to send the recording. I'm here if you got questions. Like have them get involved in this stuff and just pull them in.
No, I completely agree. I think there's more opportunities to get sales and marketing better aligned these days. I also think there's an interesting delineation between what's marketing and what's sales that sometimes is gotten very blurry lately. Because your comment about like, why did we get these poor leads? Sometimes it's because marketing is asked to like give sales leads, and marketing, honestly, doesn't is trying to chase a lead number in a lot of cases because they need to present on a presentation that they hit this lead goal or they need more leads. Whereas sales doesn't want to touch half of it because it's not good. And so part of me wants to stop that nonsense. Sales only wants to talk to people that actually are interested in that want to buy. They don't want to talk to someone who downloaded content. But your point earlier about like asking people, I think, and this is where to me, if you know marketing's winning, is if you put it on a demo request form, book a meeting, whatever you want to say, or if you talk to someone or do a survey and they write back, where did you see us? And they do an open field and they say everywhere. That to me is like the creme de la creme, because
Yeah.
that is what you want.
Yeah.
They can't tell you where they saw you everywhere. And I think that's what we need to focus on. And part of that is creativity, because when you stand out, you do something different than everyone else, even if you're not truly everywhere, they notice you.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't want to be cliche here, but like 20 years ago, there's a book called The Purple Cow that Seth Godin wrote that literally talks about, like, if you're driving in a field and you see a bunch of cows and you see a purple cow, what do? You stop, take a picture of it, you tell your friends about it. It becomes a story. So many people are just nailing it in marketing today. It's so frustrating. I see it. And by the way, sales teams do it too with their pitches. Like, I see it everywhere. Like, I don't know, do stuff that's cool. Yesterday, I've been following up with Pitchfire users that have our plugin, but haven't been using it every day. And I'm like, oh, are you not getting cold emailed? Like, maybe some of them just forgot about it. And I wanted to get some research on it. I'm not selling them in my message. Most of the message I'm writing is about them. And like, it's fun and clever. Like, I had some guy that was like in Chicago and I gave him my top 5 rankings of my favorite deep dish places in Chicago. Like, I'm just trying to make a connection with somebody and on a one-to-one basis. And if you start doing these little things to chip away, those little wins turn into big wins, and big wins turn into momentum. And then your company's doing really well and people love you.
Well, and then they don't ignore you. I think that's the other thing, because I think we've gotten in this habit as an industry where, and we'll just like, it's not working, so let's just do more of it. And I'm like, or what if we didn't? What if we tried something different and creative and saw what happened? Because I think every marketer who's been given the opportunity to do that has seen tremendously different results. And I think one easy way is there's been this big push of, like you said earlier, everyone's posting on LinkedIn now, and companies want their employees to post on LinkedIn. But then we also have like this, but like only talk about the company or only do it in a certain way.
That's so bad when they do that. I hate that.
How do we make it stop?
Okay. All right. So here's how you win at social, because we did this a little bit too. So you have your brand. Your brand has a voice. The brand voice should probably be kind of aligned with some of the people on the exec team. I like doing brand archetyping, which I think we actually did something about this together back in the day in a former life. Like brand archetyping, basically in the 60s, there were these psychologists that ad agencies started hiring, and they realized, using like Carl Jung's theory, that people like to categorize things. And if you break that category, it makes people uncomfortable. So if I did a video online that was really serious, and then did a video next week that was really silly, and then did a video a week after that was really like innocent and nurturing, it creates a bad vibe for your brand because you're all over the place. But if you're like, everything that I do, I'm going to put through this filter of being silly or being a rebel or something like that, you can build a brand and get affinity and get people to be like, oh, I get what this brand's about. And what it does is it actually makes it easier for them to talk about you offline. Like, oh, there's this brand, Pitchfire. They all wear leather jackets and sunglasses and punch jukeboxes and make music start. We don't do that, by the way, but I'm just using like a rebel archetype example. Like, you might go say stuff like that, right? So you've got that. With your employees that you have at your company, everyone's like, oh, just the generic thing companies do is they have them repost content that their marketing team put out, or like something that was shared, and that kind of sucks.
My favorite, here, I wrote this for you. Can you go post this to your social account? Can all of you post the exact same message at like 9 a.m. today?
Yeah, and instead, what you should do is, one, don't hire people that are dumb. I know that's kind of mean. If you have someone in your sales team that's going to be working for on $1 million deals for your business, you probably should be comfortable with what they can put online on LinkedIn and coach them to do it a certain way. There's that part. But the other thing is, you got to look at them like a TV show. So like, here's how I think about it. If you watch Parks and Recreation, one of my favorite shows that I liked when it was on, it's a comedy. The brand of the company is a comedy. Each of the characters are funny, but they're funny in their own different ways. Ron Swanson's character is an everyman. Like, he's simple. He's like he likes woodworking, and like he's funny sometimes, but his character is easily developed because you know what Ron's going to be like when something happens on the show, and you anticipate it. And you could do this with every comedy, every TV show. I could do it with Star Wars, for example. Luke Skywalker is a hero brand. He's a guy that rises up to the occasion, is heroic, and makes decisions sometimes. Han Solo is a rebel brand. It goes against the rules and like is badass and is a rogue, and they talk about that. Princess Leia is kind of a gesture brand. I think she started as like they moved her into the gesture brand, but like she becomes the comic relief by the second and third movie. The whole genre of Star Wars is like a blockbuster movie. I'm not a big Star Wars nerd. I'm just thinking of it like Back to the Future or like E.T. or one of those movies, but like it fits into this company brand of this world that's happening, and they have all these different characters in it. That's what you really got to do. And you should, like, if you go to your employees and say, hey, I want you all to figure out what character you want to be and go stick to that character, it becomes a lot easier and a lot more fun to make content and post stuff and put your own spin on it.
Well, and then they want to and they don't feel forced to. So then it feels a lot more authentic. Because I think part of the other problem is when you're being asked by your company to post something and you're being given all these restrictions,
Yeah.
it just feels like another thing that you have to, like, it takes away it being your social media account and becomes like your company posting for you on social. I think the same thing happens when you are being more creative on your own and you're doing things where you're talking about things related to your business, things, other things you're passionate about. And the company's like, why did you post this?
Yeah, I
We
mean,
don't like that language.
yeah, I mean, it's just kind of like, I mean, what you could do is just make a couple guidelines for them, but like, I think it's cool when someone posts, like, I'll give you a really good example. One of my favorite people to follow on LinkedIn, I want to give him credit. It's nice because he always gives me credit, and I appreciate him for it. There's a really big sales influencer. His name's Josh Braun. Have you ever seen Josh Braun's content, Stephanie?
I actually haven't.
He's really good. He does like sales training. He makes flashcards and train like kits and little guides to help people with sales. And he has over 100,000 followers on LinkedIn. Josh has a lot of really cool stories. He draws real life metaphors into his sales stories. So for example, he used to do triathlons. I don't know if he still does them. I haven't seen him post about it in a while. But he used to tell stories about how he'd go to the mall and a rep would be like, "Hey, I noticed those shoes look like triathlon shoes. Have you ever analyzed your footsteps before?" And the whole lesson will be like, "Oh, ask good questions in sales." Like he'll draw a parallel like that. But he'll fit in his personal life stuff into his stories so well. And every person that is in business and is doing stuff that's customer facing, you should be a storyteller. Like that's the easiest form to tell information to someone. I actually think that like screw all these sales frameworks. The best sales framework ever is just telling stories to people and sharing stories. And if you feel like you're listening to this and you're like, I don't have any stories, I'm lame, go get some stories. You can get them. Go like dig deep and think about like what's something that you went through. How'd you feel going through this stuff? Like or your company, if you're telling a company story, that can be interesting too.
Well, I think that's why I'm not by any means a trained sales professional. I've had zero official sales training. I have never been in a like hired for a sales role, but I have led sales and I've been a CEO. And one of the things that I've closed millions of dollars of deals, and part of that has been because I tell stories. Because I don't come across following all these set protocols, which frustrates everyone that has a traditional sales background because I don't run meetings. I don't run the process like everyone else does. I do it the way I do, which is I talk to people and I'm open and honest and I tell stories like I would want to be sold to,
Yeah,
which is
and
not being sold to.
you know what else is great about stories? Let's say you tell me a really cool story, right? You tell me a really cool story. Am I just going to sit there and take your story in? If the story is really good, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get off the phone with you or get off the Zoom, and I'm going to go tell your story to someone else at that company so that when a contract's due or a decision needs to be made at the company that changes how you do stuff, you have a story that's easier to recall if you do that. And by the way, this is the same way that like I know that the whole framework of this show is to confess stuff. I've made mistakes in my career. And I think one of the things that I didn't do is I didn't leverage storytelling enough with people. Like to paint a story of like, why did we do this? What was the result of doing this? Like, why are we going to keep doing this stuff? And I probably could have done that a little bit better because like I just assume everyone's on the same page as me with stuff.
Yeah, and we all have different perspectives, and they're not. And I think the other challenge we have sometimes with stories is by the time a customer or a buyer has actually picked up on the story and heard it and digested it, you're so sick of telling it.
Yeah, yeah, but like that's also what's kind of fun because then you can find a different way to do it. I mean, I'll give you a really good example, right? When I got out of college, I cold called and cold emailed people when I was at Dime. And sometimes it get really boring writing cold emails all the time to people, especially when you've done it for, I was a team lead, so I probably was doing that for over 5 years. I never moved into a closing role. I don't know if you knew that. I've never been a closer. I've only been a prospector. Like, I've eventually moved into marketing. That was the path my career took. But you know what I used to do? I used to actually just go write my cold emails, but I'd write them in characters that I liked. So like I'd write as Wayne Campbell from Wayne's World. I loved 30 Rock. I'd write as Liz Lemon from 30 Rock and make jokes like as if I was Liz Lemon, only I was me, my version of myself. But like, and you know what would happen? It would be really fun to write cold emails. I'd look forward to work doing it because I was like, oh, I'm taking the same value props and personalization, but I'm writing it as if I'm getting my night cheese on, like Liz Lemon does when she eats her night cheese, or Wayne Campbell talking to the camera and be like, excellent, like, and having fun. Like, I would actually go do that in my prospecting, and it made it so I didn't want to, like, just weep and cry into a pillow after year 2 of doing sales or year 3 of doing prospecting. Like, it made it a lot easier for me to get through that stuff and eventually, move into a different role.
Well, and it also was a lot more enjoyable for the people that received it because it didn't
Yeah.
look like what everyone else sees, which is your inbox. It's funny, I think if you looked at like all of the emails that some of us get from
Yeah.
cold prospecting, and we'll talk about prospecting more in a second, they all kind of like look the same because now what happens is like one or two people will post on LinkedIn, like, this is the model to follow. And then it's like, cue me getting 90 emails that follow that model. And I'm just like, oh, you're killing me softly. Like,
You're forgetting the ending of that post will be like comment emails if you want the guide into what our framework is, and people do it. I see it. I'm like, I can't believe people are doing this. um, but
and then
yeah,
they train their entire team on it. And then that's like the next barrage of things that I get. And then they're surprised it doesn't work. And I'm like, it didn't work because it's not authentic to your brand. It doesn't stand out. And that's the hard part is I think oftentimes if you get something like that someone else says, hey, this approach worked for me, that doesn't mean that you can't use that conceptually, but you still have to make it your own and like do the hard work, not just like copy and replace, like, here's what we do with what they, I feel like that's what happens.
yeah. So I teach James McElroy, who's a professor at the University of New Hampshire, has me come and teach 6 classes a semester on prospecting. So I do like there are 2 classes and I do 3 classes each for them on or 2 classes, 3 classes. Who cares? I do 6 classes a semester on prospecting, and like one of the things I try to tell people is like this is what worked for me. It's not what's going to work for you. Like some of these things we're very different people. An email that I write should be different than what Stephanie writes. And same with pitching. This thing that you might pitch might be very different from me. I might give you ideas on like, oh, like, hey, this is how your mind should think about it when you're doing your creative. This is how you should think about it, like when you're doing this with your own creative approach. I'm not saying go paint with this color. I'm saying here's the canvas. This is where you should paint.
Well, and I think that I love that it's where it's like, here's what worked for me, figure out how to make it work for you. And I think that is, we're missing that part in a lot of the conversation today. But let's talk about prospecting.
Okay.
It is, whew, it is hard to be in any type of, I think marketing and sales are just hard right now. They've been
Yeah.
hard forever, but I think they've gotten a lot harder. And prospecting is one of those big challenges for almost every single company that is focused on trying to acquire new logos, which it
Yeah.
feels like if you're in B2B SaaS, like that is like your number one mission 24/7. So you are, I think, super well known for in the world of prospecting.
Thank you. Thank you. I don't, it's on purpose a little bit, but go ahead.
It's intentional.
It's marketing. It's marketing.
So
But
your
yeah.
branding is working. Um, but when you think about like the biggest challenges that companies face today with prospecting, like what do you think those are?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm going to try not to be pitchy, but I think one of the biggest problems that we have today is the roads that we use to prospect don't work anymore. Um,
Do you think
I'll-
people realize that? Like, and honestly, realize it and accept it? Because the
uh,
data shows it.
I think people don't. I think so. I call it the outbound paradox. So basically, what happens is companies go through a cycle where they hire SDRs and BDRs, they prospect people with normal personalization. They get some stuff that works, and then they're like, all right, now let's go hire 20 reps, and we're going to have them all do the same thing, and it's going to scale. And what ends up happening is none of the reps can replicate what worked before because when you're new and exciting, it was cool and interesting. But like once you're starting to do marketing and all that stuff, the emails that you send, your email deliverability starts going down the more people that you send. In fact, I've read stats that say almost 30% of your cold emails will never reach the prospect's inbox. Another 30% won't even reach their main inbox. They'll go to the promotions tab or the product updates tab. And then the third bucket of it is like, so you have that. So email is a problem, but you know what else is a problem? If you go back 10 years ago, the average executive would spend 3 hours and 36 minutes in their inbox every day. Since 2020, that number has completely dipped. An average executive spends 38 minutes in their inbox every day. It's dropped. And you know why? It's because all the internal communication that they used to do with people over email, they're not doing in email, they're doing in Slack or Microsoft Teams. And you know what's not happening? Stephanie can't sell to me on my Microsoft Teams or Slack instance. I mean, some people do that connected Slack stuff, but
They shouldn't. They shouldn't.
you actually I think you can't anymore. I think they did some stuff, but like,
Thank goodness. That was horrible.
yeah, so like you can't sell to people on Slack or on Microsoft Teams. And then the other part is whether you have an Android or iPhone device, they default did an update in 2021 when scam calls were going up like crazy that make it so voicemails or calls that are not saved on your phone can go right to voicemail. And a lot of people have that turned on. I had to turn it off because I get people calling me about Pitchfire all the time asking for help, and I want to be able to help them. And if it goes right to voicemail, I feel like a jerk because I send them the Pitchfire on my voicemail. I'm like, hey, go pitch me on Pitchfire if you're someone cold calling me. But like the roads that we use to prospect. So anyway, what these companies do is because they get less replies, they send more. Because they send more, they get less replies. And it creates this cycle where we've watched the average reply rate on a cold email is below it's 0.7%. It was 6% 5 years ago. Connect rates on cold calls used to be 10%. You'd call 100 people, you'd talk to 10, or you'd connect with 10. Now it's down to 3%. So like we're already seeing this thing happen, and my perspective is if you're going to take time to get in front of somebody and actually have them look at your prospecting, it better be good. And the best way to kind of do that, there's things you can do with normal prospecting to make it work, but what I'm trying to do is build a whole new channel for you to do prospecting in.
Which is like this idea of paid prospecting.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, thank you. It's like yeah, but like I don't want to get too preachy, but if you're someone that's in B2B and you're like, what? Imagine if every pitch that you sent to somebody, you knew that they were going to at least see it. That's kind of the world I want to build here. Like I think sales pitches should be in the future like making a Super Bowl ad for one account at a time. Like that's where I want it to go.
Wouldn't that be amazing?
It'd be fun too. Wouldn't it be
Well,
fun?
it'd be fun. Well, and I think what's interesting is like I've done that before. We've done these highly personalized videos, highly personalized direct mail, like all of these things that made us stand out and
Yeah.
caused us to get meetings and customers with these huge accounts that we wouldn't have otherwise. And is it scalable? Absolutely not in the old school days, right? But that doesn't mean it shouldn't. I think sometimes we got in this habit, it's like you're more and more and more, where it's like, oh, well, if it's not scalable, we can't do it. Or if it's going to require too much effort, we can't do it because we need to scale it so we can hire more people to do the more things. And I'm like, but that doesn't work. What if we did something different?
Yeah, like it's so the way we do it is the way you get people to respond to prospecting is you incentivize them to respond. And we're building this whole channel now that companies are doing where you can do your normal prospecting, you can do your normal marketing, but you run this also. And you can pay people to come in and answer your prospecting. And if you do that, right now the results show 1 in 3 of the people that respond will turn into a meeting. 1 in 3 that you pitch will reject you. You have to pay for it if they reject you. That's the catch with using paid prospecting. But you get a reason why they're rejecting you. So like you're not just like getting an objection and then feeling like crap because they're ignoring you. And then the third bucket, 1 in 3 people will ignore the pitch that they send. That happens, but 60% response rates, how different of a world would we live in? I'd kill for that.
Right? I would kill for that too. Well, and I think the other part is like just like a 30% meeting book rate. Like that's crazy in today's world. Like I remember when I started out my career, like that wasn't crazy, especially with like the right tactics and the right level of effort. But today, like there is no way any company is getting anything near that.
Yeah, the short term thing is we're using money to get people to come answer pitches and train them on the behavior, but the long term vision here is like prospecting should be an art. It should be fun and creative, and the people that are creative and fun that have, you know how many people go to school and go to college and get like a liberal arts degree or like film or like, yeah, what'd you get a major in?
I have a triple major in English, political science, and ad PR with a minor in rhetoric.
Look,
I'm like the queen of liberal arts.
I know you wanted to be C.J. Craig on The West Wing, but
Oh, I so did.
me too.
Oh,
Me too.
back in the day.
I just wanted to drop that for people that like The West Wing, but I love The West Wing. But like, think of it from this perspective: people that work in sales accidentally stumble into it. It's usually an island of misfit toys. Maybe you went to school for something and couldn't get work in it after. I stumbled into sales because I wanted to work in marketing, and the economy, like in 2008, completely crapped the bed, and all the good marketing jobs were getting scooped up by more senior people. So I jumped into sales instead, and then moved into marketing eventually. But like the people that we are perfect. If you're listening to this, you're perfect for sales. If you have, you're perfect for paid prospecting in this new world that we're trying to build. If you're creative, that like don't mail it in. I still see, by the way, the majority of the pitches that people do on Pitchfire right now, they're like just copying and pasting what they wrote in an email, and I'm like, no, you're missing the whole point. So like we're trying to get people to know about like how can you do this stuff and how can you stand out. Now, the whole it doesn't scale thing is really important. The fact is, the reason it doesn't scale is because the response rates are so low. So if you want to go be thoughtful and do something really creative, what sucks is like, I mean, this happened to me at Lead IQ. I'd go sometimes do like these fun campaigns. We did this campaign. I'm actually in the same exact spot that I was for this campaign. I put on a tuxedo and I auditioned to be a spokesperson for a bunch of big brands. And what happened was we emailed them out to them with video. We were using like Vidyard or something, and we didn't get any responses. And I'm like, it kind of sucks. They were funny videos. It's basically I'm auditioning as an actor to try and be a spokesperson for them. And usually all of them I say terrible things. Like one of them I'm like we did one for LogMeIn where I made a joke that like my IT team used LogMeIn to help me learn how to use software at my company and stuff. And I make a joke that I can't even read. Like I never learned how to read. So like when I get invited to stuff around the office, I can't go to the parties or something. Like just little jokes like that in the video. And we were emailing them out and no one was looking at them. And it sucked because like I spent a whole Friday afternoon filming them all and like it didn't work. You know what I had to do? I had to post them on LinkedIn and ask people to tag people at LogMeIn. And we got meetings that way. But I can't do that every day. Not at the scale that you're doing for target accounts and stuff. Like if the LogMeIn people were on Pitchfire and they were getting paid, I don't know, 60 or 70 bucks to look at my video and respond, I probably would be, I would book way more meetings than I would doing calls and emails. So like that's kind of why I started this thing. I mean, part of it's also just because like I don't want to do something small. I want to change how people do stuff like in B2B in general. I think a lot of it's like I watch these companies, they increase their valuations, they buy more crap, and then they spend more money on each person and ends up not working out most of the time. And like, I don't know, part of it's also just getting access. There's a magical freak power to marketing and sales where you can get in front of people you've never heard or met before. And that's really cool.
It is. And it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah, what? Get me to confess more stuff. I need to cry. You're supposed to get me to cry on this thing.
I don't want to make people cry. I don't know
I,
why we would say that.
that's all I want. I just want to have like, I thought I was getting like the Diane Sawyer treatment or something like,
Mm,
hold on.
like choked up. No.
Yeah.
So we'll ask you then our final question, which is, what is your biggest go-to-market confession?
And I mean, I've said a lot of stuff already. Okay. This one's big. I'm not kidding. This one I didn't tell you when we did our prep call. This is really big. People, if you're watching this, I don't want you having this shared with people that I've worked with in the past. So I have LinkedIn posts that I've been doing. I have probably, I don't know, I'm probably almost at 20,000 followers now on LinkedIn. I don't know how many I'm at, but I put posts up on LinkedIn a lot of the time making a point about something. A lot of those points were points I was making for something in private. So if you saw a post about me being like, attribution's stupid, and then all these people come in and comment and say, yeah, I agree, attribution's stupid, yeah, it doesn't work, and then marketers come in and add stuff, that was likely because I was having a fight with somebody internally about attribution being stupid. And I did this weekly. Every week, if I had an internal turmoil thing, I would do a post about it on LinkedIn. I would tell them I'm doing it too. Like, I'd be like, I'll do a post on LinkedIn and see what people say. But like, externally, when you're all commenting and engaging with stuff, a lot of the time you're helping me support or reject. And I mean, I've been wrong too. I mean, I've had people be like, I don't think that this is right, you should be doing this. I'm like, oh crap, okay. Like, but a lot of the time when I'm posting stuff, I'm taking the internal squabble and making it public without tagging or associating with anyone.
I think that's part of the reason why your content has been so good over the years is because, well,
Thanks.
because it's authentic, right? It's like I had this conversation. I'm not going to call people out, but I want to share it and I want to get a broader perspective on what other people think on it. And I wish more people would do that.
Yeah, honestly, I wasn't doing it for a game. I literally, like, it wasn't like, oh, this is going to get us leads or pipeline or any of this stuff. I literally would do stuff because I wanted the person to know. I wanted people to tell me if I was right or wrong, and like have a natural curiosity of what they were going to say on stuff. And it's funny because like for some reason I feel like it allows me to be myself, which makes me better at marketing and sales and like, well, now running a company. Like, I'm way more confident in who I am because I would take these things that were happening and instead of just guessing, getting feedback from the market on these things, I'd give my take and be like, this is what I think. And if people agreed or disagreed, generally, I'd know like, oh, I'm in a good spot or I'm wrong on this thing. And I had people tell me I was wrong on stuff a lot. So that's my confession. I think that's my biggest one. Like, a lot of the time when you see a post, I'm doing it to prove a point or disprove a point.
You've been listening to GTM Confessions. If you love what you've heard, make sure to subscribe, rate, and review our podcast. And don't forget to tell a friend.